What's going on, people? Welcome back to another edition of Gen Sports Corner. And I had to talk about the fight last night. I said that going into the fight, it was going to be a big evening for DB3, especially with all the hoopla and circumstance that was surrounding this fight week. You know, with Keyshawn Davis losing his belt because he was 4.3 pounds overweight, and then not being able to fight because De Los Santos was like, I ain't doing it. So you had Abdullah Mason pushed into the main event with Nakathila from being the co-main event, and he showed up and showed out in Norfolk, Virginia, in Keyshawn Davis's hometown, and in my opinion took the spotlight that was supposed to be for Keyshawn Davis, because Keyshawn Davis was too immature, hard-headed, reckless, and just impulsive. And it culminated in a couple of things last night. So Abdullah Mason, like I said in my prediction, he was too much for Nakathila. Nakathila was not fast enough. The reflexes were not there. The footwork was not good enough against Abdullah Mason. And Abdullah Mason, he went out there and just did what he wanted to and stopped Nakathila, I believe, in the 7th round or somewhere around there with a I don't know if it was a cut or what it was, but he stopped him. So, you know, great performance by Abdullah Mason. Highlights, he looked sharp in the highlights. And then, now mind you, Keyshawn Davis had pressed Abdullah Mason at the press conference. And Abdullah Mason kept it cool, calm, and composed. And after the fight, he had to answer a question about one of the undercard fights. Actually, the co-main event. So now the new co-main event was between Kelvin Davis, one of the other Davis brothers, and Nahir Albright. Nahir Albright happens to be a local fighter. I did not know that. My aunt was telling me that he actually goes to their church out near Sicklerville, New Jersey. That's where he's from. So they were all watching him fight last night on ESPN. And he ended up defeating Kelvin Davis in that fight. And in my opinion, he controlled that fight, that 10-round fight. It was Nahir Albright. And Keyshawn and Keon, who got a knockout earlier, were not happy that Kelvin lost that fight. And he lost it convincingly. He was taking shots. He was eating some big punches. And Nahir Albright, on top of that, he fought Keyshawn Davis 19 months ago. And Keyshawn originally got a majority decision win over Nahir Albright, but that was taken away because he got knocked for marijuana in the drug test. And I talked about that in my video, and that was referenced on Andre Ward's podcast, where it's like, yo, man, like you have to take things more seriously. Can you fight like that? Sure, but why put your money and your career at stake because you want to, puff some weed or take edibles or whatnot, man? And let alone on fight week, 3 times on fight week. And then this fight week, just when I'm thinking that you're more mature based off of what I saw in that interview, you go ahead and miss weight. And then after missing weight and seeing your brother lose, you guys go ahead and go to Nahir Albright's locker room. Him and Keon Davis acting wild. And this is what Nahir Albright said. I'm reading from an article. And he actually had an interview last night where he talked about this. He said he was talking to Mark Kriegel, and he explained to Mark Kriegel why he had this big knot on the right side of his head. And he said, I was in my locker room celebrating the victory with my team. And yeah, Keyshawn and his little brother Keon, they came in, they started looking at me. They were saying something about his older brother, Kelvin, and like they was mad. And he like grabbed me, pushed me back, and I'm grabbing his hand, and he moved his head forward towards my head. So I got a little bump. He like headbutted me. So yeah, that's what happened. So he had a cut on his eye, but that was from the fight. But the bump, that came from a headbutt after the fight in that post-fight altercation, which is completely unacceptable. And then after that happened, Albright's brother went out into the hallway and tried to address the situation with, I guess, Keyshawn and Keon and members of Davis's entourage, and another scuffle happened outside in the hallway, and the police had to come in and they ejected Keyshawn from the building. Like it was like that, man. That's a really bad look, man. It's a really, really bad look. And right now, Nahir said him and his team, they're considering taking legal action. So can you really blame him? Can you blame him? He said, I have to talk to my team and we'll see what we're going to do about it. But yo, he may, and in my opinion, should press charges, man. That's assault. Just because you can't control your emotions, because what started out as a sour weekend turned into an even worse weekend with your older brother losing. Instead of just at least accepting that Keon Davis got his second round knockout and won his fight, and just taking that and celebrating that and then learning from your mistakes. No, you double down and crash out. Like completely crash out and go to the room, the dressing room of somebody you fought 19 months ago, and y'all had some bad blood. I remember the end of that fight. I saw the highlights. He ain't shake his hand or nothing because it was a tough fight. Not only that, but you go in there and you jump him because you got an attitude problem. Like, bro, you all the way have to. Honestly, I don't know what the boxing commissions are going to do. Like, you just lost your belt and then you crashed out after the fight because your brother lost. Like, if he's not facing a suspension or some type of disciplinary action, I don't know what's going to change his mindset, because you can't. What are you doing, man? You messing up your money. You messing up your reputation. You sullying the DB3 brand that you guys made, that you guys were building, and you're making me and others who were thinking that you were turning a corner and maturing look very foolish. Now, I'm a new fan of Keyshawn. I've been following him for, I say, like 2 to 3 years now. And there was another fighter along with him, not Shakur, that I was following as well, that was up and coming. But I saw him fight and I was very intrigued. I'm like, yo, this guy, he got pop, he got a nasty demeanor, and he always looking for the smoke, and he's hyper talented. So I looked at him as the guy that didn't avoid anybody. Like, he was the one calling out Tank Davis. He was the one calling out Devin Haney. Like, he wanted all the smoke. Whether people thought he was ready or not, he wanted to fade. Right? So I really liked him because of that. But the more and more I get to see of him, the less and less I like. Especially now that he's doing things like this. Like, you're doing too much, man. You're Keyshawn Davis, if you're looking, if you're watching this video, very talented. The sky is the limit. But look at this evening and how it turned out. You went from telling Abdullah Mason that this is my time, you're not ready yet, to allowing your temper and your lack of discipline to flip that scenario where Abdullah Mason is now headlining what should have been your main event in your hometown, and took care of business, and he's making Norfolk like a second hometown now. And after the fight, to come back to what I was saying, they asked Abdullah Mason about that while he was standing with his two brothers, and he was like, when that happened? And he didn't badmouth Keyshawn or his brothers. He didn't say anything. He just said, look, that's just not the way we get down. That's it. Short, sweet, and to the point. He is mature beyond his years. And to end this podcast off, I want to say, look at Abdullah Mason compared to Keyshawn Davis, and the disparity in terms of maturity between those two. Even though Abdullah Mason is younger, like 5 years younger, almost. Way more mature. Has his head on straight. And then from a religious standpoint, compare Devin Haney and Bill Haney to Abdullah Mason and Abdullah Mason's father. Both Muslim, I believe. But Devin Haney and Bill Haney claim to be humble, claim to be men of God. Not saying they aren't, but then their actions are completely contradictory of what they claim to be. You say, Alhamdulillah, praise to be to Allah. But then you turn around and you you say and do things that are not representative of the Most High and the way you should be carrying yourself. Very arrogant in some of the things you say and the things you do. The Velez-Garcia situation, when it comes down to slinging mud, you right down there in the trenches with everybody else. But contrast that with Abdullah Mason. He gets pressed at the press conference by Keyshawn Davis. And, you know, they're having some competitive banter, but Keyshawn, he want to get, you know, he wouldn't get lit. While Abdullah, he kept it classy. He kept it classy even when Keyshawn was saying, like, you young, like, you gonna get hurt if you go against me. You know, your father gonna get you hurt, blah, blah, blah. Now, he kept it classy. And then even after the fight, right, after all the trash talk that was being said from Keyshawn Davis' side to him, he was like, no comment. We just don't get down like that, but no comment. Didn't sling mud, didn't kick him while he was down, didn't do none of that. He just embraced his win, handled it maturely, and then just went on about his way, man. That dude has a bright future ahead of him if he stays on the course he's on right now. I've been a fan of Abdullah Mason for as long as Keyshawn Davis now, but now it's like he's looking like he's the one, not just inside the ring, but outside of the ring. And it looks like Keyshawn Davis, though extremely talented, is risking going off the rails if he doesn't get his temper and mentality in check. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think that Nahir Albright should press charges against Keyshawn Davis and Keon Davis? Or do you think that he should just keep it pushing and maybe get a rematch with Keyshawn Davis, which Nahir Albright said definitely down for? He want all the smoke with Keyshawn again. So, I mean, that tells you all you need to know about where those two stand. Let me know what you guys think about that. And then where do you see Abdullah Mason going next after this? Do you think he'll get a fight with one of the Davis brothers? Do you think he'll fight somebody else at 135 who's worth fighting? Like maybe it's Tank Davis. Maybe it's Teofimo Lopez. Do you think he's ready for those fighters yet? You let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.